Good afternoon, Collegiate Academy. Welcome back to another day of math instruction. Today we're going to be talking about volumes of spheres. So by the end of the lesson, you should be able to calculate the volume of the sphere. I will note as well, this is going to be the last lesson on our foundational geometry skills, okay? So let's go ahead and get started with our affirmation. Today, I will do my best to be my best. What I do today will make a difference in my life. My choices will affect me and those around me. I will listen, I will be honest, I will respect the rights of others. I will learn something today because today matters and my future is built on one now at a time. As always, we're going to start by just kind of familiarizing ourselves with what a sphere is and giving it a formal definition. So a sphere is a solid three-dimensional object that is shaped like a ball, something we're really familiar with. Every point on the surface is the same distance from the center. So if I were to measure this length to this length, it'd be the same as this length to this length, right? All the points on the surface are the same length to the center point, okay? What I want us to note as well is that you can find the radius of the sphere just by taking the length from the center to any of the outside points, okay? We have a different formula, so let's make sure we're familiar with it as well. I highly suggest that you go ahead and grab a piece of paper to write this formula down on, as well as a calculator, because we will be using a calculator throughout a lot of the problems that we will be solving today. So in order to find the volume of a sphere, you're going to do 4/3, the fraction, multiplied by pi, multiplied by r, which is the radius of the sphere, to the power of 3, or r cubed. Okay, so again, 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. For those of us who are a little bit confused or need a refresher on what this cube means, that just means we're multiplying the radius by itself 3 times. So r times r times r. Putting this into practice, let's go ahead and get started. The first problem over here, they ask me to find the volume of a sphere. They tell me, or in looking at the object, I can see that they give me the radius is 2.2 centimeters. So let's go ahead and start to run through it. First things first, let's write down our formula. The volume equals 4/3, right, times pi times radius cubed. I'm going to rewrite this formula, or not rewrite it, but I'm going to replace the r with 2.2, which is my radius. Let me go ahead, change that real quick. So I'm going to write 2.2 cubed. Okay, so now in our calculator, this is pretty much just a standard multiplication type problem. We're going to multiply all these things together. So we're going to do 4/3 times pi times 2.2 cubed. We're going to leave the answers for today relative to pi, so we won't be converting pi to decimal and making it 3.14. We're just going to leave it as pi. So we're going to solve relative to pi. Let's start off by figuring out what 2.2 cubed is. So in your calculators, if you do 2.2 cubed, you should get a number that looks like this. I'm just going to round it. 10.65. Okay, so I'm going to multiply that by pi by 4/3. Okay, now in order to solve this, all we're going to do now is multiply 4/3 times 10.65. If you do so, you're going to get a number that looks like this. So around 14.19. And I'm left with this over here, pi. So I'm just going to write down 14.19 pi. And that would be my solution for what the volume is. Okay, so again, the volume of the sphere here would just be 14.19 pi. We're going to leave it just like that. Again, more so interested in you guys understanding the dynamics, or not the dynamics, the mechanics of how these types of problems work, what you need to plug in where in order to find the correct solution, okay? So we're going to leave it relative to pi, just like that, right? I'm going to go ahead and ask that you guys press pause in the video and try to solve this problem over here as well, okay? So really similar problem. In fact, almost identical. They just gave us a different radius here. So press pause, try to solve it. When you come back, we'll review it together. Awesome. So for those of us who are back with me, let's go ahead and start writing out the solution to this problem. To find my volume, I would just do 4/3 times pi. And what would I plug in for my radius here? Yeah, 8. So I do 8 cubed. Okay. Let's take a second for those of us with our calculators. What is 8 cubed? Yeah, 512. Or 8 times 8 times 8. I'm going to multiply that by 5. Multiply that by 4/3. If you're having a hard time using the fraction function or creating fractions on your calculators, you can just do 512 times 4 and then divide that by 3. It'll give you the same solution, okay? So if we multiply 4/3 by 512, we get a really big number, 682. I'm going to round it, 0.67. Now, is that going to be my final solution? Or am I missing something? Yeah, I'm missing the pi. Can't forget that, guys. Pi is an essential component here. We can't just dismiss it entirely. We can leave it at pi, but we can't just ignore it. So I'm just going to write it like this. Solution here would be 682.67 pi. We're good to go. So let's take a look at 2 more examples. This time I want us to really note what we're being given this time, right? So again, I'm going to provide an example over here, and then you guys are going to be using this as a practice problem. I'm going to find the volume of this sphere, right? So let's start with our formula. Volume equals 4/3 times pi times r cubed. Now, let's try to figure out what our r is. Is my radius going to be 12? That's my diameter. So in order to find the radius, I'm going to take my diameter, cut it in half. So my radius would actually be 6. So I'd write 6 cubed instead, right? Now I can start plugging in my calculator. If I do 6 cubed, that gives me 216. And then I'm going to multiply that by pi and 4/3. So now on my calculator, I'm going to do 4/3 times 216. I'm going to give you guys a second to do that. Again, if you're having difficulty with writing fractions in your calculator, you can just do 216 times 4 and divide that by 3. If you do that, you're going to get 288. Do not forget, I have to multiply that by pi as well. I'm not going to actually multiply it out, but I'll leave it relative to pi. My solution would be 288 pi. So last one, I want you guys to go ahead and try to solve this one. So you can press pause on the screen, take your time. As soon as you're done, we'll come back and review it. For those of us who are with me, we're going to jump right into it. Standard formula. So I'm going to copy down my formula. 4/3 times pi, and then radius cubed. Do I know my radius? They don't give it to me, but I can find it out. If I know that my diameter is 42, that means that my radius is going to be half of that, or 21. So I would write down 21 cubed right here. Now I can start solving with my calculator. 21 cubed is just, it's a really big number, 9,261. Okay. I'm going to multiply that by pi and 4/3. Again, with our calculator, we're going to multiply 4/3 times 9,261. If you do that, you get another large number, which is 12,300 48. Okay. We may have had some slight variations in our answers based off of rounding, but it should be something around that, okay, guys? And I'm gonna, to conclude, write down a pi afterwards, and that will be my solution to finding the volume of this sphere.